Hello, everyone. Welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday and getting ready for a bright new year. I really worked hard to get this new subscription out before Christmas. So hopefully you guys have all received your subscription. If not, it is the January subscription, so technically it's due in January. But and I wanted you to have something extra special for the holidays. So hopefully you received this amazing set of Schmincke. Now, the Schmincke or Schmincke, whichever way you pronounce it, is a German watercolor that I just love. They always do a great job in watercolor, and being, an artist that makes watercolors myself, I can appreciate a great quality product. I never have any problems with this product. Now, with that being said, let me just tell you that the PG50 in Cobalt tends to dry very quickly. So depending on where you are, this might slide out of your pans because it just does dry and shrinks a little bit. It's just the nature of that. There's nothing wrong with it. Just pop it back in. I did my best to kind of like really get it in there into those things to try and get it to grab on, but it's a brand new pan, so it's not good. It's going to be a little slippery. In any case, you're getting these beautiful colors, which is Glacier Brown. And I'm going to go ahead and swatch them out. Let me just get a little brush here. So just to reactivate them, just put a little drop of water on each one. And this is the Duo subscription, which is the upgraded subscription, which if you're just signing up now, this is the only one available. I no longer do the basic subscriptions, but the basic subscription, if you're still on that plan, has dot cards instead of the tins with the little sampler pans, which I happen to really like the sampler pans because you can take these and just start cutting the backs, because I put them on magnets, and you can just line them all up. So if you want, you can just take them and just stack them all in there, into this. So Glacier Brown, gorgeous color. Glacier Turquoise has that PG50 in it. Another beautiful color that activates so well with water. Let me get you a little closer here. Then we have Glacier Green, which is one of my favorite greens. It's kind of like got that cobalt green feel to it, and it definitely splits. So now one of the best ways to deal with a granulating watercolor is to keep them very fluid, because as they dry, that last 5 minutes before they finish drying, that's when you're going to see a lot of the magic happening in them. And I don't want you to miss the magic. So a little goes a long way. You can see I'm just adding a little bit until I get to the color variation I want. And I'm even going outside my circle because I just really want to show a lot of the area. Now, granulating watercolor, I find, layers better than it does just going really heavy the first time around, because I like to see these splits in the color. Can you see how this Glacier Green is already starting to split into that lovely PG50, and then it has that other gorgeous color underneath it, right? And same with the Glacier Blue. It has several colors, several blues in there. So you definitely want to take advantage of all the little, beautiful tones inside these watercolors. And the only really way to do it is to layer them very light at first and then let them dry and watch that granulation pop forward with those different colors. Now you see how wet they are. I'm letting the water kind of slide around. And what that's going to do is it's going to make the heavier particles settle down while the lighter particles stay more on top. And that's really going to give you the ability for that, whatever split is going to happen. A lot of the watercolors that I make have that gorgeous split, So let's just take, now this is one of the practice cards that comes in the set. The other one I've already painted. It's right here. And then additionally, I sent you guys some extras depending on the subscription. As they were getting closed, I also tossed in a bunch of extra things that I had on hand. So there's a bunch of surprises always coming. And the other set, of course, to my Duo subscribers is this Jax watercolor, which is my own version. So this is handmade honey watercolors, and we're going to swatch those in just a second. So now with this, this card is meant to be something you can trace as a guide. You can scan it or photograph it into your phone and then print it out on other watercolor paper. You can trace it right over here onto watercolor paper. You can even put a sheet of graphite paper underneath it and then trace over the lines. Or you can just learn to draw this, you know? And this is going to help you kind of get the shapes and the forms. Now, if you notice, I have the back end has a little more texture and perhaps trees or something you can do with texture. And the front facing is almost like the light's coming this way. So I always kind of keep that in mind, you know, when I'm doing something for you guys. So just to do something fun and quick with this, I'm just going to take advantage of the colors in the blues in this set just by really going wet on wet. And this paper that this is on is Fabriano. It's a lovely practice paper. It's Fabriano 50/50, and I sell it on my website because I don't know if it's, I feel like people can't find it anywhere. So I'm going to just let this color kind of do what it wants. I love loose messiness, right? So I'm going to take a little bit of that, and then in there I'm actually going to take a little bit of this blue, which does have ultramarine in it, and I'm just going to swipe it along the lines of here, and then we're going to let that kind of dry and combine. And the whole idea is just to let it explode in areas so that we have that luscious, beautiful variation of color. I feel like my screen might be a bit bright. I'm not really sure. Let me see. Don't want it too bright for you guys so that you can see. Can you see that color? Isn't that beautiful? So, so pretty. I also have to watch my white balance with my my light. Not too much enough. There we go. That's better. So I used a little bit of the Glacier turquoise and a little bit of the Glacier blue, and you can see how that's starting to form beautiful colors. You'll see a lot of that beautiful aqua in there. It's one of the nicest PG50s that I've ever seen, really. Now for the Glacier browns, that's really fun to play with as well because it does have a split, and I find that more of the earthy, I like this one for those earthy kind of grounding movements. So just to keep things kind of fun here, I'm getting a little more paint, and I'm going to tilt this up so that it has a chance to get some that is a lot of color and some that is a little color, just like that. Okay, and we're just, see how I'm just letting it bleed, and then wherever I put the water, the bead of water is going to slide it around, and we're going to keep it like that. Now you can do this in layers. You can work from this down, you can work from this up, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm not really particular a lot of times because I can get right in there, and you know, so it doesn't really bother me. And when things mix, I feel like there's nothing I can't fix if I don't like it, so I don't really think or concentrate too much on whether or not I'm, you know, doing it in the right order. So you'll see me kind of just go with the flow, just whatever idea I have, I just kind of go. So that was a little Glacier black I added to this foreground just to kind of give it a little more depth and dimension. I'm also going to just tap in a little bit of the Glacier black, I think, in these areas right here. And again, you don't need to be perfect. I love imperfect as long as it's just a light little layer to let this start blending in. And I'm going to do several demos for you here on the thing today so that you can have fun. I actually have one ahead of us too that is kind of more modern that I probably will do on a second video for you with these colors. When I do the Jax watercolors, I'll do them on a separate one. Oh no, I'm getting my little letter. Don't forget to read the letter. A lot of people have been saving these. Oh, I meant to tell you, I have something. So on the back of this, by the way, is should be what is in the packet and some scan tags for you to be able to go right to the website and also see the video challenge area where we have these videos all lined up. And then there's a discount coupon for you guys to get 20% off and free shipping on anything you want to add to your future orders. Pretty cool, especially if you want to get larger pieces of these, or say you like one of the colors, you don't want to buy a whole set, you want to just try it in a larger pan. So maybe you'll get a quarter pan of this or a half pan, whatever's comfortable for you. I even have additional dot cards and additional sample cards. So now let's take the Glacier Green, because this is such a pretty color. And again, I'm still sticking with my my brush here. And you can use the brush that comes in here. It's a great brush. I just happened to pick this one up, so I'm still on it. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of dappling, right? So I'm just using the water, keeping it, again, like a first layer. And I'm just going to go right over the trees, because when it dries, this is kind of like a base coat. Fun. So, so pretty. So you see what I did there? I just kind of added like a backwash of the Glacier Green. So now the next thing, now of course in this one there is a mystic forest that would be luscious here, but because everyone did not get the Jax watercolor on this thing, only the upgraded subscriptions, I'm going to go ahead and use what we have to do these trees, which would be more of the Glacier Green and a mix of the Glacier Turquoise. I find that those are really good to kind of go in here and do more of this. And you see this foreground's really turning out really nicely, right, as a way. Now you don't have to make it this big. You can bring it down a notch if you want. Here is that gorgeous granulation. Look at that coming through. Now I only painted. I didn't do anything. I'm just painting and filling in the areas, and it's just granulating in such a lovely way. Over here, some of my mountain broke into the wet. So as it dries, I can just go back and literally swipe in some more color just like that, so easily, you know. One thing about this watercolor that Schmincke makes that I love is you can remove it very easily. You can paint over it. You can reactivate it with water. It's got all kinds of really fun things that it has available to you, you know. So going a little heavier on the Glacier Green, I'm just going to kind of go through here and just give myself a little dimension, almost as if I'm painting rocks. And all I'm doing is I'm going to give it a little bit of Glacier Green and a little bit of water so that I follow the style lines of the dark side of the mountains and the light side. So like, since this is a lighter side and I'm looking at it, maybe I want to just kind of brighten it up a little bit by moving the color to the side, and I'm staying just a little bit on the face side of this area. So see how I was able to do that? I was able to move it and then like keep this part here. Now that's me thinking about a little bit more forward. So if this is the light coming this way and this way, then this would make sense. Now this doesn't match, right? So that one's drying a little bit darker. So let's just wet our brush and we're just going to kind of rub at it. And that's what the beauty of this particular set is it's just really easy to go back in and play with. Same here. If I want to add a little bit of highlight and bring it back to almost white, but it's still got that kind of underpainting look where it's got the glow of the green, all we have to do, look at that, is bring it back. And then if I wanted to settle, this is why I feel like it's so good for beginners because you can't really make a mistake. If I wanted to settle this and make it more misty, did you see how I just kind of went down the edge and I just added some water to it as it was drying? Now, if I want anything to be a little more intense, you can build it up. But remember, you've got tons of granulation in here. So see how a little bit goes a long way. You know, you don't really need to get too crazy. Just make sure you get enough water so that it granulates. Otherwise, it can get really heavy like this example I did. Now, a lot of people really love the heaviness of this, right? Because I laid it in with a putty knife. But what I didn't do that I saved for you to see here is I let it dry heavy, and then I can go back and reactivate it with water. You see that? And I can get more lines, like hard line dimensions. See, I just put that line in right there, right? So reactivating with water is how you get that like kind of misty blended look and a little more control over these shapes. But you don't really know what you're going to get until you let it dry. So if you do go heavy or you lay it in with a palette knife or something, then just know that this is another lesson that I'm teaching you here. And it's just to blend it out gently with a little water and your brush. So easy, just like that. So see how I'm creating those nice little washes and I'm blending that out. So like I'm getting more of a misty look on the bottom of the areas. And that's a really handy thing to know that you're able to do, because it gives you more confidence when you paint, right? That you can lift a little bit and encourage some of that granulation to come back. See, isn't that lovely? So like here, if I feel like it's a little bit dark, I'm just going to add a little water and just rub on it and just kind of move it, just push it a little bit. In one of my classes that I teach, I think it was the floral class, I was doing transparent florals, and we did a lot of moving of color to increase the transparency in your flowers. And this is much like that kind of technique, you know. For those of you in my sketchbook class, don't forget to do it as a postcard. So you know how we do the flashcards with the different techniques in that class, how you do a bunch of them so you don't ever forget your techniques. Put this on one of those techniques, because on one of those flashcards, because this is a really great thing to remember about granulating color, is that you are not stuck. It's actually better when you go back and break it up with a little bit of water and let that lovely pigment just kind of loose and continue to go around, you know. And this isn't even a Fabriano paper. This one I've got here is more of a practice paper, so it's not even like meant to be reworked as much as I'm reworking it, you know. Like some of it is not very happy with me, but that's okay. It's 100% cotton regardless. But see how nice that smooth effect. Now some of it you might want to keep, some, you know, for the graininess. Some of it you might want to just continue to smooth the ends. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of like, see this area behind the next mountain, I'm smoothing that out just by laying my brush in there and then just clearing it out with a little bit of water. And it just gives you that really beautiful like smooth, billowy, almost misty effect right down here. You see how it's drawing more misty, right? So that's really different. So if you look at this and how I have done with it on this layer after it dried compared to what I showed you when I first came on, you're like, oh my gosh, it was so layered, right? It had such a heavy look to it. Well, that's because I meant to fix it while I was here with you so that I could just kind of give you that technique and let you know what kind of options that you have and you're never really stuck. Now see how beautiful? Everything's textured. I have some areas that I've just kind of like smoothed out. I did not lose my lines at all. I just kind of went in here and I just smooth it out. Keep some of the texture if you like, and, you know, smooth in some of it out. So let's go ahead and let that dry now. You guys can watch it while it dries. And here we're doing a lighter application. So I'm building up the layers on this one. So that one I went really heavy. This one I'm just building up the layers very, very slowly as we go along. So that is something that you might want to consider, right? Building up layers, I think, is a really important thing, just as well as the heavy layers. I tend to like it heavier and then back myself out. I guess I'm just a little more bold that way in the way I paint. So I don't tend to do a lot of light layers, although there have been like florals and stuff that are more botanical that I have done that with. So here I added a little darker and then blended it out to get a little more light, and then I left it. You see how there's like a white line behind there? I'm intentionally leaving that. So I'm taking the Glacier Green and I'm actually building it up on the top edge and then laying the water down from that point on, right? So I'm not bringing a lot of color down, I'm just bringing the water down, and that's how I'm getting that. And then if I want to charge it, so when you have a wet surface here that you're watercoloring and you're adding color, it's called charging. And when I want to charge in more of that color, then you just kind of tap it right in there. So my surfaces are looking good, and by just kind of adding more watercolor to the sides of the mountains or the glaciers, this is kind of like more mountainous than glacier. I'm going to do a glacier, like official modern glacier in another video for you. Isn't this pretty? But that's why I call this Majestic Mountains. I just think this set makes a great, I know it's called Glacier, but I think it makes a great mountain set, you know. So I got lots of this Glacier Green. It's just beautiful. So I fed it through. You can keep feeding it through just as you like on the different planes and surfaces. Just try and keep in mind that the light is coming this way. So we want these things to kind of stand out, and the ones on the back we can go a little heavier. So you could actually mix a little bit of black with some of the green if you wanted, and then just charge it in certain areas. Like here, it would kind of be nice to just kind of give it a little bit more. Now I didn't paint it all the way down. I'm just letting the water take that and tackle that challenge. I'm putting the paint at the top to establish the line. And imperfect lines are something that I go for a lot. I'm trying not to get perfect lines here. Perfect lines are lovely. I was actually, before I went on here, I was getting some stuff together for the February subscription. I'm actually making all the paint for that subscription, so you guys are getting all handmade watercolor in that one. Do I have it here somewhere? Let me see. Maybe I can give you a little fun preview if I can find it. I don't know. I thought I had the cards here. I feel like I had them here. Oh, here they are. So coming out in February, you're going to see the cherry blossoms, and it's got a beautiful set of watercolor coming your way. And then I'm also designed these cards to teach you how to draw and paint the cherry blossoms. So this is going to be a really, really fun one. So you can paint the different blossoms. I talk about values in your painting, and we're also going to do tree paintings. There's also Fabriano 100% cotton paper, as well as I have, what else do I have coming? Oh, arches. So if you want to try arch, that's a great one. And then there's a New Year's surprise in that for you, a little gift that I included as well to continue celebrating our new year as we move in with this amazing watercolor subscription that I never knew we were going to have, but here we are. So I just kind of playing with some more of this blue as I really like it. And just kind of charging in some areas roughly. Just like that. Just kind of giving it. You can even do more mountains in the background if you wanted to. So this is really pretty. So now, like, if I want to put in the trees, I would play around with some of the color. I personally like color. So for me, I would like to add, I would do the Glacier Green, but then I would brighten it up a little bit with the cobalt teal, which is right here. They call it Glacier Turquoise. So I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of Glacier Green, a little bit of Glacier Turquoise, and I'm just kind of striking through the trees with the point of my brush. Actually, this brush is a really cute brush that I love. Tintorito brushes are real fun. They're made in Italy. I think, though, that the brush I send with this, with the point, the synthetic, probably will do a better job on these trees. This one's a little sloppy, but as I've got the watercolor already in it, I'm still going to just kind of use it. And I'm just kind of doing some basic little crosses here. Going down one side real quick and another side real quick. Like a feather, just strike it. And don't worry about overlapping, just overlap it. And then just kind of top and move the color around so it's imperfect. Because believe me, we all know what it is. Those trees, it's hard to miss them. I really love loose painting though, you know, especially when you have it drawn in. It's really like, I feel like sometimes it can get too stiff if you follow the guide and let the drawing come too far forward, you know, because otherwise it can get a little heavy and a little monotonous. So definitely do your own thing and paint outside the lines. Okay. So let's let this one dry. That's where I'm at with it. Ultimately, I can go back and do more. I like things a little more bold, but there's nothing I can do with light layers. That's why I start like this, because look at how great, to me, this is so much fun. You know, I love the way this looks, but some people are going to love the lighter look. You know what I mean? So it just depends on how you like it. Now, again, if you feel like any of this front part is too heavy, easy peasy. Just strike through it with a wet brush and start creating another line. I don't want you to ever feel like you're stuck with anything. Just add watercolor and strike through and create another line. Just like that. Then let it dry. Again, if you want to break it up, you can break up this little bit here and let it all become part. I can even go back in with a little bit of my brown, continue this line and make it part of this here. So see how I make it part of this? So I can sit and play and mold and change the painting any way I want to. It's my party, right? Just like it's your party. So see how I did that? I can break it in. And literally if you scrub at it and just add a little more color to even it out, like if I want to just keep adding a little bit of glacier green and then let it dry, because you can always go back. It's reworking, it's reworkable. And this is, you know, this paper, it does okay considering, right? It's not 300. It's like a nice printable weight paper. If I lay it to dry and put it underneath a book after it's dry, it's just going to flatten out anyway. Okay, so we got those two. Let's do one with a palette knife, a little heavier, for those of you who are not familiar in painting the heavier ones. So basically, you can do a light wash if you want first, or you can just work from the palette knife first and then go back and do a wash. It depends. Some people like to do an overlay, like a whole wash at first, so that they just don't have, this is a toned paper. It's a natural, beautiful natural tone, 100% cotton. It is one that I sell on my website as well. It's handmade, but it has the rough surface on one side and it's like a more creamy than the bright white, and then it's got a hot press on the other side. So we use it a lot for cards because you can write on it, but it is very soft. It doesn't have a lot of sizing. So in this, I'm just going to take probably, I don't know, like a mix of colors, probably a little bit of black, and put my palette knife in a little bit of the green. And see, I just have it right on my palette knife right there. No water yet. And I'm just going to scrape this down just like this, right? And probably here as well. Just bring it. And the idea is not to overdo it with the paint. More paint sometimes can get overwhelming. The idea is to use the palette knife and a little water. So dip this in a little water and pull your colors down. Remember, one thing about granulating colors is a little goes a long way, and typically you want to proceed like this, even though this is a little heavier of an application. I like the way the palette knife goes across a rough surface because it leaves all of these great shifts, you know. I love the black and the green together. I think they just look really amazing. They're striking to me in this set. So I tend to like that, you know. So I'm just kind of smoothing a little bit of water. So I add a little water to my palette knife. Can you see how much? And then I just kind of go on the rough edges. Now this works, of course, way better on rough paper. And that's why I sent you this paper, because it's a really nice practice paper, you know, but nothing's going to happen to it. It's a little lighter than 300. And that's what makes it a little less expensive, but it's really, really nice to just kind of practice on, not be nervous with, and just play with, you know. So there's my green. So I'm just, again, smoothing in some more shapes. Now, if I want more of that hazy look, we could take some of the green and really water it down, and then just kind of go in and give it just a little bit of haze. You can even take a little more and charge it with a little color, just to give it that kind of dirty effect there. See, just like that with the brush. And then in this back area, well, there's a lot of things you can do. We could keep it really light. We could just go in there with a little bit of the black and just dry brush in more of this mountain effect, and then charge it with a little water so that it blends out, and then maybe go back in with the green and just charge in some of that yummy green, let it just do its thing, because it's got the green just kind of goes in a lot, you know, like a lot more colors. And I'm leaving a lot of the paper color in there. I like to leave paper color because, you know, it's being a watercolor traditionalist almost, I don't really use a lot of white in my watercolors. I just reserve the paper to do that. Now I'm taking my brush in here after the palette knife thing, and I'm just kind of charging in some areas, giving it a little darkness on some of the sides. I'm just kind of, you know, having some fun with the colors. So far, I've just done the green and the black for more of a monochromatic effect, adding a little bit more to this floor. I'm leaving this white. I'm leaving this paper. I did some back mountains and left some of it white so that you kind of have that feeling of the dimensions, right? And this is actually working out really well here. It kind of stayed nice. You know, I've got some loose mountains and some more defined mountains on that area. And over the shadow areas, I'm just kind of charging it up with a little bit more of the color. And then you can break it up with your finger. You know, there's so much you can do. Just be creative and don't lock into what is this going to look like when it's done. Lock into more of how do I get this color to activate and really do something fun. So now on the top, there's obviously two great options, right? There's more of the blue color, which you can just strike in like that. You don't have to get crazy, right? You can do just something wistful. And there's also that beautiful, really, really bright aqua. Now, I might just, for me, because I really love the little punches of aqua, I might just kind of give it more of that Northern Lights kind of look in some areas, and then charge it up with a little bit of the blue in other areas, just like that. Let's get it off my mountain. So pretty. But that's just me. I kind of like a little more striking color through mine. I like that. That's pretty. So that's a pretty combination. So I use mostly the black and the glacier green in the foreground. I left the trees kind of more dark, thinking that the light maybe would make them look just kind of like more dark. And that's something you could do here too. You could actually do some darker trees. You don't necessarily have to have the green as the lighter tree. We could scrape in a little bit of darkness through those trees. I actually don't think it looks that bad. I think it actually looks kind of neat, and it gives you that feeling that there is more of a shadow from the mountains, you know? So that's something you can do over there as well. I really like this one though. This is like one of my favorites. Okay, so that's going on here. I'm gonna open these next on a second video for you guys, and we're gonna do some really fun, more modern glacier painting with this one. Why not, right? So get out a sheet of the paper that I sent you. I sent you multiple sheets of paper in your kit, and let's move on to another video when you have time, and we'll do a little bit of a modern glacier. I hope you guys are enjoying the subscription. If you haven't signed up for it, I encourage that you do, because you'll learn so much about paint and painting, and you'll get lessons. Everything you need is in your kit. When you get the first kit, you get a brush, you get the tin, you get the paint, and also all of these lesson sheets. So you could just sit and have a painting party with your friends and, you know, learn something in the process while you watch the videos. This is Jacqueline Jax for Jax Watercolor. I love you guys. Happy New Year.